Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our latest edition of the Financial Engineering Quant podcast. I think this time around we are doing more of a foray in AI, obviously, for obvious reason in terms of everything that's going on. And I want to introduce you to Zuber Seth of a company, an AI firm called Orchid AI. And I think you're going to find it quite interesting. He's actually Zubo is in England right now, so hopefully we didn't wake him up too soon. But in any case, no, actually he's ahead of us, so that's good. It's after work. So Zuba, tell us a little bit about who you are while we're talking to you, and then what is Orchid AI?
Sure. Firstly, thank you so much for having me on here. And for everyone watching, I guess, yeah, my name is Zuber. I'm based in London and I am the CEO of Orchid AI Limited. So at Orchid, we're a tech first, AI first company, and we pretty much build AI solutions for hedge funds. A lot of that, as you can imagine, ends up being quant work. And right now we have a flagship platform called Zeno, which automates model research, model creation, and some macro research for quant analysts at hedge funds and other asset managers. So far, we work with 6 or 7 hedge funds right now. We've just raised our first funding round as well of $1 million, and we're very excited to see how this space plays out.
Great. What about you? Who are you? I mean, give
Yeah,
us a little bit of a background here.
sure. Yeah. So my background, funnily enough, isn't actually directly in mathematics. So I only hold one degree, so unfortunately I don't have a master's. But my bachelor's is in economics from the London School of Economics. I attended there a few years ago. Um, Post my degree, and even during my degree, I was working at a London-based hedge fund for, I think 2 years. That fund I actually got into because I stumbled across the fund manager while I was working as a barista at a coffee shop. Um, yeah, at that fund, I pretty much started off in business development. I moved on to quant. So I was doing quant work for around a year, year and a half. It was mainly model creation. A lot of it was, it was an LS equity fund. So, it was mainly equities. And yeah, I did that for a bit before I started Orchid.
Okay, so you said three important things. You may not realize it, but you meant barista and you meant hedge fund. So obviously, something that we talk about with my students all the time is, how do I get a job? How do I get into a hedge fund? And I said to them, at the end of the day, it's all about relationships. And obviously,
Absolutely.
so tell us more about this interesting part of the coffee and the hedge fund and the manager. And obviously, you're a math student, so I mean, the master in financial engineering is really about the math. So we have a connection there. So tell us a little bit, how did that work out, and how did you get with the barista and the hedge fund? This is very interesting.
Yeah, it's really funny you ask because it's one of those coincidences almost that kind of really shaped out how my life so far has played out. So I was working at a as a barista at a coffee shop in this place in London called Regent Street. So Regent Street is in this region of London called Mayfair, and Mayfair is pretty much known to house all the big hedge funds, all the asset managers. They're all kind of there. So this isn't in the city of London itself. So there's no banks, but there's a lot of boutiques there. I didn't know this when I was working as a barista. So I'm just at work one day, and this guy comes up to me. He's wearing a Harvard quarter zip, right? So when you see a Harvard quarter zip or anything Harvard related in London, usually, 9 times out of 10, that person hasn't actually gone to Harvard. It's kind of just like, oh, look, cool hoodie, right? I'm guessing it's similar for like Oxford and stuff that you see in the US. It's kind of just like branded. So, guy comes up to me, and again, just making small talk. I'm like, hey, did you go to Harvard? And he was like, actually, I did. So, this guy, he'd just done his MBA from Harvard. And he asked me a question back, and he was like, what do you do? And I told him I'm doing nothing this year, but starting next year, I'm studying economics at the London School of Economics. And he was like, "Oh, that's amazing. That's what I did before I did my MBA at Harvard." So we found that mutual link, that connection. And again, I had no idea who this guy actually was. But right after this, I was actually doing an internship in wealth management. So very, very different to quant work, a lot more relaxed. I mean, a lot easier. But while I was doing that, I didn't actually know anyone in the field apart from the people I was working for, right? So, I mean, this was pretty much the only guy I knew in finance. I kind of had a look at his LinkedIn, and it seemed like he was doing something in finance. I didn't exactly know what. He was super cryptic about it and everything as well. So yeah, so I mean, we keep talking. Every time I have, some sort of task I do for the wealth management fund, I send it to him. Like, hey, can you guys, let's name him, we'll call him Rob, right? So I send it to Rob, and I'm like, hey, Rob, can you have a look at this and see what's going on here? And he's like, yeah, sounds good, sounds great. He would give me feedback, and pretty much this internship was 3 months, right? So I finished the internship, I come back to London, and he asks me, he's like, hey, are you gonna go back to the coffee shop? And I said, I mean, yeah, I need a job, right? And he was like, well, listen, I have an opportunity for you and it will pay more than being a barista pays. And I was like, you know what? Sounds good. Let's do it. So 1 week later, I'm stepping into a hedge fund. I'm starting as an analyst and I still have no idea what a hedge fund is. So, I mean, it's one of those things where I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I think obviously he gauged me based on seeing my work in wealth management and he was like, okay, this guy can kind of do what we need him to do. And yeah, I mean, I ended up at a fund. I mean, I started off, as I said, in business development. So very, very different, much lighter, easier tasks. And slowly, as I was, I mean, going through my degree as well, and as I showed an interest in more of the mathematical modeling, he kind of moved me over and I was there for a bit as well. So,
This is interesting because obviously, um, when my students get job at hedge funds, it's they they query them really in terms of their ability. It's almost as if um, it's almost as if they expect you to behave as if you were working there, or so they're almost looking for an attitude really. They're not.
mhm.
I don't think they're looking for a degree as much as they're looking for an attitude. And obviously, I'm sure you were well versed in terms of what's going on, and well, you did wealth management before, so you kind of know what. So it's they're looking for a profile, I think, and what you mentioned is reinforces my idea that at the end of the day, if students want to work in hedge funds, obviously you need the opportunity. So, but the opportunity doesn't have to be. I'm sure if these guys actually went out and sent out put an ad and say, okay, I'm looking for this guy to come in, he would have gotten 10,000 responses, and then if you were to apply among those 10,000 students, I think Citadel, whenever they open up, I got a student of mine at Millennium, and he said that the last time they did that, they had like 70,000 people applying.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how you interview 70,000 people?
Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of the thing though, right? It's a lot of it just does come down to luck and chance. I mean, I got lucky that I mean it was a really small fund. They weren't really putting out any applications. But even again, if they had, I'm sure everyone would have jumped on it, right? I kind of met the guy, right place, right time. I mean, I built a relationship with him. As you said, I mean, relationship building is super important because again, now I mean I'm in a different position where I'm hiring people, right? And I don't want to work with someone who I don't like working with. And I mean, building that relationship over those 3 months, kind of obviously showing my competency in terms of, okay, yeah, I can actually do the job. I've done it in wealth management, but also being like, hey, I'm a nice person to just, have a chat with. And that I think is super important and oftentimes very, very overlooked. I mean, again, going to a good university, getting a master's in financial engineering, that's great, right? But that's like these are the things that get you through the door. Once you're there and once you're doing your interviews and once you're actually interacting with people, everyone through that door has a master's in financial engineering or everyone has gone to a target school. So now how you separate yourself there, I think, does come down in a large part to how impressionable you are.
Yeah, and one of the, I mean, I teach a capstone course, but also a project oriented, but I also teach now a professional development class, which is basically about, how to present yourself and in order for you to be able to get that job. And I will tell you one thing is that um, I hate to say that, but I cannot teach someone how to be network ready. I could bring it out, I guess. I could bring it out, say, you need to realize this is important. So these are things but if you don't want to talk to people and if you're an introvert and you don't like this and you have a bad attitude, I don't know if I could make you and say, well, do these things and you will be like Zuber. You will be the guy that you want to talk to, always smiling and open. You can't you cannot, and this is, I guess, a difference where some people are predisposed, and you could be the smartest guy in the room, but if you can't sell an idea, and if you can explain it to someone, and if you can't sell it,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
all right, so you're in this hedge fund, you're doing
Yeah.
great, and then you said, you know what, this is not enough for me. I need Zuber wants more. So how did we get to the second stage of the?
Sure. Sure. Yeah. I mean, again, I enter the fund. I'm working in business development, which is, I mean, again, super fun, right? I have a budget to go meet clients. I'm fundraising. It's great stuff. It's like the dream job, right? But I think from a very early age, one of my passions has just been how markets work, right? So when I was 16, I founded this website called rollimons.com, which was for a platform called Roblox. It's like the world's biggest gaming platform, pretty much, right? So that website is still running today. It gets around 13 million monthly users and visits. And it's pretty much the Bloomberg terminal for that platform. So I built that when I was 16, just out of curiosity. I mean, I just like markets. I like what was going on. And I think it was the same. I came to the hedge fund. I really liked what I was doing, but I saw the guys with that 3 or 4 monitors, and I was like, wait, I want that too, right? I mean, I see these guys sitting there making models every day. I see them coding, and I'm like, this sounds really, really interesting. I want to do this. So I go to Rob, and I'm like, hey, Rob, I really appreciate the opportunity you've given me, but do you think I could possibly go sit with those guys? And again, I think this is again comes down to just how impressionable you are, because I mean, realistically, I had no qualifications for this. I mean, a year into my bachelor's, right? I was not smart enough to be going and sitting on a quant desk. But yeah, he was like, I mean, yeah, sure, we'll give it a shot. I trained with the quant guys for around 6 months. So, I mean, I was pretty much just shadowing them. I was not doing anything at all. I was bug fixing. I was just doing all the tasks that, I mean, our platform Orchid does now. But yeah, I think being there taught me a lot, and it was super important to make that shift just in terms of, I mean, where I wanted to go in the future and in terms of kind of satisfying my own inner curiosities. And yeah, I think that's why I did it.
Okay. So what does it do?
What does Orchid do?
What does Orchid do?
Sure. So Orchid does everything I didn't want to do in those 6 months, right? So as a quant, effectively, the main reason you're hired is your ability to think, right? I mean, machines can do math, machines can do pretty much everything, but a machine can't come up with ideas. Only a human can. And even today, I mean, Orchid can't come up with ideas, right? So as a quant, your USP is the quality of ideas you bring and how you can find flaws and patterns, or how you can identify things and how you can pretty much look for ways of making new money. Now, while you're doing that, right, at a fund, at least at my fund and at most small funds, you only actually get to do that maybe 20% of the time. 80% of your time you're doing other things, right? So you're checking your P&L. I mean, you're running the same models over and over again for back testing. I mean, you're making small iterations. You're looking at research papers, trying to break them down, identify trading rules, implementing it to then even see if it's something worth pursuing. All of that takes up so much time that you could be generating alpha during instead. And Orchid pretty much automates all those processes. So, I mean, model creation, for example, right? We had the best model out there in terms of identifying trading rules from research papers and implementing research papers. So, I mean, as a quant, let's say you see a bunch of really cool pair trading strategies, and you're like, okay, you know what? I want to take this part from this strategy and this part from this paper, and I kind of want to implement something and see if it works out. It would take you at least a couple of hours. I mean, I'm sure less for you, Professor, because you've done this for a while. But I mean, but for most of us, right, it's at least a couple of hours of trying to break down a research paper, identify what was actually behind it, then implement it, and then see if it's something that you want to pursue. That Orchid does. I mean, ChatGPT does that at a pretty low accuracy. I think it's something like 16% of the times it implements it successfully. Orchid does it 26% of the times. So I mean, a lot better. A human PhD does it correctly on 40% of the time. So we're still getting there. We're building up to human level, but we're in a good place right now.
Wow, this is interesting again, because I have a group of students right now. That's exactly what they do. They look at research paper and try to break it down and try to reproduce it. And that's what they want you to do, really. I
Yeah.
mean, I have a few of them working on hedge funds right now, and it's their, so it's 40%. Interesting. And you're doing at 26%. So what is it? You read, so you design an app or an algorithm that goes in that reads the PDFs. I had a group of
Yeah,
students that did that. And then what? Trying to,
sure. I
is it,
mean, without I guess leaking any IP,
no, please.
pretty much. I mean, I'll say we have 17 different language models that are running behind the scenes. Some of them, as you said, break down the research papers, their vision models, they identify the trading rules. I mean, they identify whatever they can identify out of those. A lot of them are fine-tuned models as well that identify trading rules better than other models can. And then you have some models that actually work on the coding bit, right? Because financial engineering coding is very different to software engineering coding, right? You're using different libraries. The type of stuff you're doing is very, very different. And when you try using things like ChatGPT or Claude, I mean, just like off-the-shelf LLMs, the training data for these models is overwhelmingly that they're trained on, software engineering work. So it's very, very different. It's like trying to fit a square through a circle. It doesn't really work. So we've done a lot of fine tuning, just making sure the models are good at actual financial engineering work, actual quant work. And yeah, I mean, effectively what we end up seeing is using the same models, GPT, Gemini, Claude, with our infrastructure and our fine tuning, we get much better results.
Okay, so you go out so yeah, I guess you must be doing it all the time. It goes out and look for all these models 24/7 and it keeps what?
Yeah. So yeah, we have like a proprietary link with Archive, so ARXIV, wherever you post all the research papers and everything. We're constantly looking for, I mean, cool papers. We're constantly scanning. We're constantly fine tuning. It's one of those things that it doesn't really end. It's not like we have a finished product and it stops now. It's something that we keep working on and it keeps getting better. So
Okay, so that's one part of the business. So obviously, I could see why a hedge fund would want to. But then, but then you say you have a couple of hedge funds as customers, right? So
sure,
you
yeah.
tell them all, okay, this is what I have for all of you at the same time. So you pay me,
So
and I.
yeah, we give them the platform. I mean, if the fund wants to implement a certain type of strategy, I mean, you can go from research paper or from strategy, right? So if they have a cool paper, if a quant at the fund sees a paper and it's like, hey, this seems cool. Let's see if we can, make something out of this. They put it on the platform. It makes a good first implementation. You kind of iterate with it on the platform, keep back testing until you have something good. And if it passes all those checks and everything, internal research processes, whatever, then export that as a white paper, which you can also do on the platform. You do some background research, you do some macro research leading onto it, whatever your portfolio manager would expect in a document like that, and you send it over. Other cases is very different. Other cases, I mean, it's funds that don't really want to use research papers, or it's like more fundamental hedge funds, more quantamental hedge funds. They don't really do much quant work. For them, it's more like they have a fundamental idea, or they just have an idea, and they want to have the capacity to be able to do quant work, right? So these are very, very simple, usually LS equity funds or just very, very fundamental funds, and they use Orchid to become more quantitative.
And what else do you offer?
Yeah, beyond that, I mean, this is one aspect, right? We pretty much try and replicate an analyst wherever possible. So the goal was to create an autonomous analyst. We're still working towards that. We have a few agents right now that kind of do various tasks. So we have a macro agent just to look at macro outlook, because a lot of our design partners and the funds that we work with are global macro funds. We have, coding agents to, help with coding. We have fundamental agents. We have agents that just make technical indicators. So it's various aspects. We have, I think, 20 or so agents that just do different parts of the job. And we have a clever framework that calls the right agent at the right time.
So basically, this is the 2080, right? You want them to spend less time those mundane tasks.
Exactly.
That's what you mean by replacing the
Yeah.
analyst or
Yeah.
the
So, it's, I'm sure your students are doing internships right now. The summer's just started, right? But I guess they'll soon find out is interns pretty much get all the stuff that no one else really wants to do, right? And that's the stuff that Orchid does. So it's just everything that is, I wouldn't say non-essential, but in aggregate, low value, right? So if you take away that 80% of stuff that doesn't generate that much value, now you have 20% of the actual work that's cool and that's what you want to do, right? So we just bring that back to the analyst
You know
effectively.
what? I tell my students, I don't want you to do an internship actually, because for that reason.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen what they've done. I say, yeah, but they're not giving you the good stuff. What I want them to
Yeah.
do is I want them to work on projects during, and we got 11 running right now during the summer, because there you get to work with more important people where they have their own pet projects. You may not always get paid, but you get huge amount of experience. And right
Absolutely.
now, the mindset is, I mean, I'm changing that, but the mindset, I need an internship. Yeah, okay, you'll go to you work in New York, and you'll do some
Hmm.
interesting work and you'll get paid well, but you're not going to do this thing that you really want. I mean, yeah, it's going to be easier for you later on when you look for a job and say, "Oh, look, I was a Millennium, I did this, I did that," or I was at a couple of hedge funds. But did you really maximize your time during the summer, really being exposed? I will tell you that I had a student. He actually, we got paid. I don't know if you know all the quant programs in the US, but he got paid the same amount of money that the so-called the Baruch gets paid.
Right. Yeah. I'm familiar.
The
Yeah.
Baruch money, right?
Right.
And
Right.
the reason he got Baruch money is because he was one of the first of all, he said, I don't first of all, he was working, and then he said, I quit this job. I wanna become a quant. He didn't take an internship, and he worked
Hmm.
on like three projects. One was had to do with mimicking the way rating agency, and he was working with a sponsor, corporate
Yeah.
sponsor. The guy now is the head of the sponsor is the head of trading, not trading, but model analytics at
Hmm.
Century. But the point is, he worked on that, and he worked on another project. Having to do, actually doing this, going out and doing PDFs, reading PDFs files in order for him to pick up on which at that time I didn't really what that project was about. Now I realize it's very important to pick up on papers
Hmm.
and things like that. And that's the reason why he got Baruch money, because he was able to maximize his time on doing all these interesting stuff. So he's that much more important. So yeah, so there is. But the only thing is,
Absolutely.
you were only there for 2 years at the hedge fund, and then you say, you know what, this is what you could have waited like 10 years and really know.
Yeah. 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 I mean,
How did you know this was the thing?
sure. I mean, it was a okay. So that's an interesting story. So it wasn't like a complete straight line. I didn't go from, I quit the hedge fund to let's start Orchid. So let me tell you a story. So one of my friends, my co-founder now, Ash, he was friends with this guy called Yusuf. Now, Yusuf went to a university in London. If anyone's familiar with the area, he lives in Knightsbridge. I think that says quite a lot, right? So a lot of the Arabs they live in Knightsbridge. Yusuf's last name was Al Sabah. Now, the ruling family of Kuwait happens to be the Al Sabah family. Now, we didn't know if Yusuf was, Prince of Kuwait or something, but he was a really, really interesting guy. When Ash first met him, Ash actually had to go through a mediator before he could even talk to Yusuf, right? So we had some suspicions. Eventually, we found out Yusuf. Oh wait, I'm gonna say yeah. Okay, yeah. We found out Yusuf was actually the grandson of the king of Kuwait. Now, super interesting, right? Yusuf comes to us one day and he's like, "Hey, Zuber, you worked at a hedge fund before, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did. Why?" He's like, "Well, kids in Kuwait when they go to university, they get given a certain amount of money to spend every month, but it ends up being more than they need in Western countries. For reference, I mean, Kuwait has the strongest currency in the world. I mean, things are pretty expensive in Kuwait, right? So if you're getting 5,000 Kuwaiti dinar, I think is whatever the currency is, it's a lot of money. And he's like, Yusuf was like, yeah, well, they end up having too much money, and they don't know what to do with it. I was like, that's a terrible problem to have, Yusuf. We must help them, right? So Yusuf is like, right. So here's my idea, right? We start a fund. We create this app where students can put all their money into an account, and the account generates interest every year and gives it back to students. And we were like, Yusuf, you've created a savings account. Congratulations. But obviously, going from there, Yusuf was onto something. And we will. I mean, eventually it came down to Yusuf was like, let's start a hedge fund, and I was like, listen, man, we're in our 20s. We're a little bit too young for this. But he was like, well, listen, two of my uncles own banks in Kuwait. My other uncle is the chief minister of, is the finance minister of Kuwait. He runs the Kuwait Investment Authority. They'll back us. And I said, okay, well, if the $1 trillion sovereign wealth fund is backing us, sure, let's start a hedge fund. So we start building out the hedge fund. Our whole thesis is we will automate things wherever possible. So it'll be a super, super lean fund. I mean, 4 or 5 people max, super lean. We automate wherever we can. It would be a fundamental fund in the sense that we're looking at fundamentals for our analyses, but all the research process is all completely automated, right? So we start hiring the team, we start building the fund out. This is around the same time when Gen AI is getting, decently good. I mean, it's not quite there yet, but we see it on the horizon. So we start building out some tools using Gen AI as well for our research work. Eventually, the Financial Conduct Authority, which is the governing body in the UK, doesn't let us start the fund because we're too young, and they're super super strict about who gets to start and who doesn't get to start a fund in the UK, right? So they're super super into the compliance stuff. Um, I was like, surely we can get around this. So I actually apply for an internship at the FCA. I get in, I get the internship, and I end up working in the hedge fund authorizations team. So I'm with the 3 or 4 people. It's 4 people that authorize every single hedge fund that gets to open in London. And after spending some time on that team, I think it became evident that there was no way we were getting approved. So we had 2 options. One was, we either stop the fund entirely, or we move to Kuwait and start the fund there. I didn't really want to move to Kuwait. I mean, I'm sure it's a beautiful place. It's just it's not for me. I quite like London. So we decided that wasn't the route to go. But this is, I mean, we've spent like 6 months at this point, kind of building out everything. We have a whole team. We have analysts. We're ready. We just need the approval, right? So we're like, okay, what's the next best thing we can do with all the tech that we built out? And we kind of realized, look, everything that we built is to solve a problem, right? And the problem is all the stuff that we don't want to do and all the stuff that we know can be automated. No one else is doing this right now. Big hedge funds, I mean, Jane Street, Rentec, I mean, all the crazy, crazy fund guys, they've had this tech for, 10 years at this point, probably, right? They came up with AI to begin with. So they've had this stuff. They won't give it to anyone else because that's their bread and butter. No one else is building on Gen AI right now. And we know this will be big. So we pretty much take everything, put it into a SaaS platform. And I mean, it's been 9 months since that now. And here we are, pretty much.
You know what? People could say one thing is it's a perfect combination. First, you know what you're talking about, and networking, and then you're lucky, right? The luck has a
Yeah,
lot to do with everything. I hate to say
absolutely.
it, right? If you didn't know this
Absolutely.
guy, I mean, and unfortunately, that's what makes it that much more difficult for students. I'll conclude on that and give me your thoughts. But basically, you need several things, right? You need the opportunity, right, which a lot of people could get, but then you need the opportunity plus the ability to grab onto that opportunity. And then
Hmm.
you also need the luck for all things to come together. So all these things have to come together. And obviously, we do say, well, if you have a degree, this helps you put it all together. I am not so sure that's always the case. It
Yeah,
helps. It's an addition. But if you don't have all these other things that comes together the right way with the right people at the right time, you know what? It just doesn't. I mean, and it doesn't work. And I think that's why I always encourage students, try as much as you can and talk to people, network, and hopefully along the way, you're going to be lucky at the right time.
for sure. I think I agree with pretty much
Yeah.
everything you said there. I
Any,
will just
go
add
ahead. Yes, please.
before we finish, you can manufacture luck, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it's a game of probabilities. The more people you speak to, the more relationships you build, the more you kind of put yourself out there, the more opportunities you have to convert something and to get lucky. So I think at the end of the day, it's just obviously also having said that, a degree is still very important, right?
Oh,
Because
no,
it's
please.
you
Yeah.
you don't get through the door without having that. For reference, I did go to a target school. I did get a good degree, but anything that you do beyond that is just about you.
I like what you said. I'm going to use that in my next class is that you can manufacturing your luck by being yourself out there more. And yeah, you're right. Because if you just, I mean, you could be very, very lucky. You don't do anything. You walk, well,
Of
you're
course.
serving
Yeah.
somebody coffee, and then,
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
didn't, it's not like you went out there, traveled the barista in the world, and you knew some guy was going to show up, and that was luck. But then everything else is about just testing and everything else. Well, thank you very much for this most interesting conversation. I mean, obviously having to do with your firm, but also your background, which provides you some interesting human elements there. So, Zuber, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me. Been a pleasure.